Hi, my name is Annie. Welcome to the Walking Word, where we go through the Bible in a year. Today we are reading Genesis chapter 19, and this is the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. Remember the two angels from chapter 18 who walked ahead, and the Lord was left behind talking to Abraham. But we continue. Now we are together with the two angels who walked ahead. So the two angels reached Sodom in the evening. As Lot, remember Lot, the nephew of Abraham, was sitting at the gate of Sodom. When Lot saw them, he got up to greet them, and bowing down with his face on the ground, he said, "Please, gentlemen, come inside into your servant's house for the night and bathe your feet. You can get up early to continue your journey." But they replied, "No, we shall pass the night in the town square." He urged them so strongly, however, that they turned aside to his place and entered his house. So they finally agreed to Lot's pleas and went to his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking cakes without leaven, and they dined. So, one of the things you notice about Lot here, Lot can notice that these men are different. These are angels, they have the countenance of angels. And having lived with Abraham for so many years, and Abraham had so many interactions with the angelic, with God, over time you can tell that Lot probably understood some things, learned some things through these interactions that Abraham had. So he noticed that these men were different and welcomed them, prepared a meal for them, made them comfortable. Let's continue. Before they went to bed, all the townsmen of Sodom, both young and old, all the people to the last man, closed in on the house. Can you imagine? You're in a town, let's say your area, just think of where you live in that town, that area, and all the men come from their households. All the men, young and old, it doesn't matter, rich and poor, doesn't matter, and they all zero in into your house. That's scary. That's very scary. Uh-huh. And all those men closed in on the house. They called to Lot. They are now at the door of Lot's house. They called to Lot and said to him, "Where are the men who came to your house tonight?" Remember, the men came in the evening, as you know, the night was. But how did they know that there are two men in this house? How did they know? Let's continue. "Where are the men who came to your house tonight?" They came in the night. "Bring them out to us, that we may have intimacies with them, that we may have sex with them, that we may have intercourse with them," some versions say. How is it, how wicked was Sodom, that everyone is in their house in the night, but somehow they all know at the same time that there are two men who've entered a certain house. Now let's all go and have intercourse with them. Isn't that just demonic? Let's continue. "Bring them out, that we may have intimacies with them." Lot went out to meet them at the entrance. So because Lot lives in, Sodom and Gomorrah, so they know him. So Lot went out to meet them at the entrance. When he had shut the door behind him, choop, closed quickly. So he's going to intercede. He's going to talk to, his neighbors, his friends, his village mates. And he said to them, "I beg you, my brothers, uh-huh, don't do this wicked thing. I have two daughters. You have never had who have never had intercourse with them. Take my daughters, they're virgins. Leave these men alone." Lot is willing to sacrifice his virgin girls, his virgin daughters, so that these angels are not abused by the men. Okay, first of all, who's willing to risk the life of their daughters to the men, two daughters, to the men of an entire village? You can now understand, Lot's thinking capacity. at that point, but also the level of wickedness in Sodom. Let's continue. I have two daughters who have never had intercourse with men. Let me bring them out to you, and you may do to them as you please. But please do not do anything to these men, for you know they have come under the shelter of my roof. They've come under my care, under my protection, under my roof. They replied, stand back. They're now shoving Lot on the side. This fellow, they're now sneering at Lot. You came here as an immigrant and now you dare give us orders? I mean, you're not even from our tribe. What are you trying to say? We'll treat you worse than them. What does this mean? We'll treat you worse than them. Those two men that we want to have sex with, will treat you worse than them. Woo. Okay. With that, they pressed hard against Lot. They're now pushing on Lot, moving in closer to break the door. So you can picture Lot is, trembling and moving back and trying to protect his door. But his guests put out their hands. So the guests, the two angels who are inside Lot's house, they put out their hands and they pull Lot inside with them and they close the door. At the same time, they struck the men at the entrance of the house, one and all, with such a blinding light that they were utterly unable to reach the doorway. So as they're pressing on, as they're coming, they want to break the door. These two angels just come out and they strike all the men blind. Young and old, it didn't matter. Then the angel said to Lot, who else belongs to you here? Your sons-in-law and your daughters and all who belong to you in the city. Take them away from it. Okay, so now the angels are giving Lot a chance to escape. Take your daughters, take your sons-in-law, and anyone who belongs to your household. Get out. Get out of this city. We are about to destroy this place, for the outcry reaching the Lord against those in the city is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who had contracted marriage with his daughters. So his daughters were betrothed to him. Yeah? His daughters were betrothed to these sons-in-laws. Get up and leave this place, he told them. Now Lot is talking to his sons-in-laws. The Lord is about to destroy the city, but his sons-in-laws thought he was joking, thought he was crazy. As dawn was breaking, the angels urged Lot again, saying, on your way, take you with your wife and your two daughters who are here, or you will be swept away in the punishment of the city. When he hesitated, the men, by the Lord's mercy, seized his hand and the hands of his wife and his two daughters and led them to the safety outside the city. So at this point, they're not playing with Lot. So they're dragging him out, literally dragging him out. So Lot is having a hard time to live all this life that he has built here. Sounds familiar with us? When distraction is coming and God is trying to get us to move away, and we're so caught up in the life that we've been living. Anyway, when he hesitated, the men, by the Lord's mercy, so this is mercy they're showing Lot. By the Lord's mercy, they seized his hand and the hand of his wife and his two daughters, and they led them to safety outside the city. As soon as they had been brought outside, he was told, flee for your life, run, go for your life. Don't look back or stop anywhere on the plain. Get off to the hills at once, or you will be swept away, or you too, you will be part of this destruction. So go. Get off to the hills at once, or you'll be swept away. And here is Lot. Oh, oh no, my lord, replied. You have already thought enough of your servant to do me the great kindness of intervening to save my life. But I cannot flee to the hills to keep the disaster from overtaking me, and so I shall die. Look, This town ahead is near enough to escape to. It's only a small place. Let me flee there. It's a small place, isn't it? That my life may be saved. Well, at this point, the angels are just like, okay, fine. If you don't want to go where we are recommending, then go where you have said. Um, but remember, there's always trouble if you don't go where God has sent you. We'll see that trouble later. But for now, they're like, okay, fine, just go to the city you want to go to, but get away. Well, then, he replied, I will also grant you the favor you ask. I will not overthrow the town you speak of. So there's the possibility of that town being overtaken. But the angels are like, for the sake of Lord, let's not destroy that place as well. So they allow for Lot to go and escape there. Let's continue. Hurry, escape there. I cannot do anything until you arrive there. That is why the town is called Zoar. So Lot and his children and his wife are now running towards Zoar. The sun was just rising over the earth as Lot arrived in Zoar. At the same time, the Lord rained down sulfurous fire, so sulfur and brimstone, yeah, upon Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of heaven. So this fire came from above and just consumed the city. He overthrew those cities and the whole plain, together with the inhabitants of the cities and the produce of the soil. But Lot's wife looked back. Mhm. This is the problem. When we look back after God has saved us away from something, yet we turn back either in desire for what we used to have or what we used to be or what that lifestyle was. Disaster. But Lot's wife looked back and she was turned into a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham went to the place where he had stood in the Lord's presence, and he looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah and the whole region of the plain. He saw dense smoke over the land, rising fumes from a furnace. Thus it came to pass when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he was mindful of Abraham by sending Lot away from the upheaval by which God overthrew the cities where Lot had been living. So God forgave Lot, or rather, the Lord had mercy on Lot and saved him because Abraham interceded. The power of interceding for people, praying for people. Okay, let's continue. Verse 30. Now, this is where the tribe Moabites and the Ammonites comes from. This is what we call the Moabite curse. If you've ever heard of the Moabite curse, the Ammonite curse. Let's finish. Since Lot was afraid to stay in Zoar, he and his two daughters, now remember Lot's wife has, turned into a pillar of salt and died. Since Lot was afraid to stay in Zoar, he and his two daughters went up from Zoar and settled in the hill country, where he lived with his two daughters in a cave. The older one said to the younger one, our father is getting old, and there is not a man on earth to unite us, as was with the custom everywhere. Like there's no one to marry us, basically. Come, let us ply our father with wine, and then lie with him, that we may have offspring by our father. Let's get our father drunk and have sex with him. I mean, this is just, yeah. So that night they plied their father with wine, got him drunk, and the older one went in and lay with her father. But he was not aware of her laying down or getting up. He has no recollection of what his eldest daughter is doing to him. Next day, the older sister said to the younger one, last night I was It was I who lay with the father. Let us ply him with wine again tonight, and then you go in and lie with him, that we may both have offsprings by our father. So that night they did the same thing. They plied their father with wine, and the younger one went in and lay with him. But again, he was not aware of her lying down or her getting up. And this is why drunkenness, alcoholism is a spirit. When you have no memory of some of the things you've done, yeah, while you were drunk. Okay. 36. Thus both Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older one gave birth to a son, whom she named Moab, saying, the name Moab means from my father. He is the ancestor of the Moabites today. The younger one too gave birth to a son, and she named him Ammon, saying, the son of my kin, the son of my blood, kin, your kinsman. You had sex with a kinsman, your father. He is the ancestor of the Ammonites of today. This is one of the things we learn from this whole scenario with Lot and his daughters and bearing children. As a father or as a parent generally, you have gone to live in a cave. So this we can tell Lot is in a state of depression because remember, Abraham is not far from him. Historical documents say that he probably lived a day's travel from Abraham. So he was just a day away from Abraham, a day away, where he would have joined Abraham, his daughters would have been married, and and their story would have been rewritten. But there's something about parents when they go through depression and they're living in a cave of some sort, and then their children are left to self-direct, and self-direction with children leads to destruction. We catch up in chapter 20 in the next one.